Well, an editor starts on day 2 of shooting. Sometimes you start a little bit before in terms of discussing the script. But mostly I'm there to look at the dailies the day after they shoot things and work very closely with the director to check that he's getting what he wants and that everything's working not just on a technical level but maybe to do with performance and the structure of the story. And you know, shooting is a bit like a shopping expedition. You're trying to get everything crammed into your trolley before, you know, the money runs out and you stop filming. And you have to kind of have your wits about you to know that you've got everything you need to be able to tell the story as well as you can.
And then you're seeing the raw state of the dailies, and you're the first person to see those, which is a great thrill. Or if the previous day was a nightmare for everybody, it could be disastrous. But that's a very exciting moment at the beginning of the day. So the assistants will go through and they'll take the sound of the picture, sync them up, and then assemble the raw dailies into a fashion that the editor has dictated works for them.
The assistants prepare it for me in a manner that is very particular to me, that they all know. I'll go through in a very methodical way and review the footage. And my goal is to inhabit that footage as deeply as I can so that I can understand what the director's going after.
I try not to read the script too much because I don't want to be influenced too much by the script, because sometimes they'll shoot something that doesn't quite match what the script is. And you can try forever to make it feel like it's matching the script, or you can look at the footage as the footage itself. There's actually an old saying that you write one script, you shoot another, and you edit another. And so I feel at the end of, being that I'm at the end of that process, I'm really trying to tell a story in the way that everyone wanted it to be told, but in the way that it's been told by responding to the footage and not responding to the original intention, if that makes sense.
As soon as I finish a scene, the first thing I do is I bring in my assistants and ask them what they think, because it's really important to me. I like to have very, very smart people around me, people who challenge me and challenge my opinion.
Every director is different. When I work on the Fast and Furious movies, like Justin Lin doesn't like to sit still for too long. So there were 2 to 3 editors at all times, so that he can go in one room, watch a sequence, give notes, and then go in another room, watch a sequence, and give notes. Quentin is incredibly hands-on. He wants to be there for every part of the process. I did a cut of Django in assembly while the movie was shooting, but when we came back in, like, that assembly was really simply to familiarize myself with the material and try some things that could be interesting when I did it with Quentin. Like, he really likes to go back and start from scratch.
And then, so I build it all up. And then I show the director, and then the director sort of says, right, you've done everything wrong. And then they build it all up how they want it, and then the producers say, that's not working at all. And then they build it the way they want it, and then the writers come in and say, well, that's not the original intention whatsoever. So then you rebuild it again, and then it gets back to basically what you did in the first place. People come in, and it's lovely that they have that objectivity. And it can be actually quite magic, because the director will come in and see something that they didn't intend, but it's something that they really love that you've done. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, that's really cool, well, why don't we try this? And all of a sudden you're off in a different direction.
It's an incredibly creative job, so first and foremost you've got to be very responsive to not only, picture and editing, but sound and music and performance, and it covers, you're in the still point of a turning world. There's many, many things coming in from you from all sorts of departments, and you're right in the middle with the director, and you have to kind of, I suppose you have to have good personal skills in terms of working under great pressure.
If there are fundamental problems with a piece on a script level, that are pretty undeniable, those are always difficult to sort of reconcile. And there are any number of ways to try to deal with that, but it depends on resources, it depends on a lot of different things. Personalities sometimes, if you're in a challenging situation, either a director or producer, or if you're in television, a network executive may be a bit reactive. Those can be particularly challenging situations.
It's interesting, sometimes I'll go for an interview and I won't get the job, and I don't mind if I don't get the job, because I'll meet the editor that the directors ended up working with and realize that the editor is a very different person than me. I can't talk about sports to save my life. And if the director wants to talk about sports as they're editing, I'm not going to be the person they want to hang out with for 10 hours a day in a very small room in the dark. And I think that's okay. And so I think as an editor, you've got to be someone who is fun to be around, or at least good to talk to, and is a creative collaborator, but also someone who is kind of like a bartender or a psychiatrist. Because at the end of the day, you're just sort of talking to someone as you wipe the bar going, so how was your day?
A good friend of mine says you have to be part editor, part therapist, and I think there's a lot of truth to that.
More is expected of the editor. We have had to become full-on sound designers, and oftentimes music editors as well. Now that we're editing in high def, we can project that, and it looks pretty good. When you were working on a flatbed with film, it wasn't even something that was possible. You would have to do a temp mix whenever you were going to do a screening. Now, I mean, my tracks in the Avid, this is what we screen when we put it in front of an audience. So I have to make sure that the stuff sounds as good as it possibly can.
You start off, you walk into an empty room, day one, and you don't have any pens or pencils or equipment, and invariably 12 months later, you need to have brought everything in, create something, walk away, and then leave that room exactly as you found it.
The other skills are patience. It's a long haul. I mean, some people are on a film for a day and others are on for a long time, and we're in the latter category. I mean, I would say on 12 years I was on that for 11 months, without a break and often without a weekend.
The most satisfying moment is walking into a theatre with an audience who have not seen the movie before and hopefully are going to engage with it, and sitting in the middle of a theatre like this with people around who don't know that you've worked on the film, and seeing and feeling the audience react around you to that, that's the most satisfying thing.